Since Monday, the attempt has been made to get an agreement between London and Brussels for the post-Brexit period up and running. An EU parliamentarian hopes for the British to give in. It is about a successor agreement to Brexit, so to speak, a friendship treaty for the era after the de facto divorce in January 2021. This week, the course will be set for whether the future relationship between the UK and the EU will be a friendly or a frosty one. The ninth one-week round of negotiations on the future relationship between Great Britain and the European Union begins today in Brussels. The text for a possible agreement must be available by October 31st at the latest. In this respect, the time is really limited, emphasizes the European parliamentarian and chairman of the Trade Committee, Bernd Lange. Because the text for an agreement still has to be translated into the 24 official languages of the EU, brought into law and ratified by the European and British parliaments. Depending on how comprehensive the trade agreement is, the approval of all 27 national parliaments is necessary, plus some regional parliaments as well. So far, there are few draft texts that have been accepted by both sides, emphasized Brexit expert Lange in Brussels. Technically speaking, you are faced with a Herculean task, quite apart from the fact that nobody knows whether Johnson is even interested in such a Brexit follow-up agreement. Bernd Lange, who sits on the Brexit Coordination Committee of the European Parliament and is therefore aware of the vibrations between the actors, recalls the hopeful motto of the catchy tune with which the German pop singer Katja Ebstein entered the Eurovision Song Contest in 1970. Like Katja Ebstein sings, "There are always miracles. Who knows what happens? Maybe Boris Johnson will turn around." 180 degrees rotations are indeed not uncommon for the British Prime Minister. From Commission and parliamentary circles in Brussels, it is said that there are now slight signs of willingness to negotiate on the British side. Apparently, the British have changed their negotiation tactics a bit so that they now appear ready to get into certain controversial issues, said EU MEP Lange. The single market law initiated by Boris Johnson is particularly controversial. There is a hard border between Northern Ireland and the EU part Republic of Ireland. Then there is a risk of civil war, and that's what we don't want. The EU will never deviate from this rule, announced Ursula von der Leyen in her State of the Union. The controversy over the Single Market Act will be fought today in Brussels between EU Commission Vice President Maroš Šefčovič and British Prime Minister, no, he wishes he would be, British Minister of State Michael Gove, of course. Namely in the so-called Joint Committee, a body for the settlement of disputes over the implementation of the 2019 withdrawal agreement. It is already clear now that the EU will only have a trade agreement with Great Britain if there is no hard border dividing the Irish island in the future, but if the port of Belfast controls what goods enter the EU via Northern Ireland. This week, the negotiations in Brussels will deal with the questions of whether and to what extent the EU may fish in British waters from January 2021, and whether the UK is still ready to accept the EU's internal market rules for product standards and state corporate aid. It is also a question of whether Johnson will stick to his demand to supply the European internal market in accordance with British rules and standards in the future. The United Kingdom wants what it sees as the best of both worlds: access to the EU internal market without EU requirements, said EU negotiator Michel Barnier on French radio. But Boris Johnson does not want to get involved in discussions with the EU negotiator, says EU parliamentarian Markus Ferber in Brussels. Boris Johnson would like a political solution, namely talks with Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, with Angela Merkel, and not with EU negotiator Michel Barnier. But there's only one negotiated solution for the EU, and the decisive round of negotiations is taking place in Brussels this week. And if you now want to know more about European politics, YouTube has chosen another of my videos right here for you in the end screen, right next to your chance to subscribe to my channel. You still can become a member of my channel or a patron on Patreon. links in the description. I'll see you in my next video. Click and enjoy. Viel Spaß and Bafte se.